Okay, so I just finished watching this video. I'm going to leave it here because I think it's a good discussion about what we're doing this week with the higher order functions and my advice. But one thing I'm going to make this pretty short is a comment I put on step 6 for the decision app and that I would cover it here. So I'm going to do this now. And it's actually really kind of interesting that I've listened to myself here, because in here I ended up adding my average footprint score by using something that several students had implemented in their render for their decision app. But there was one problem, and I want to talk about this in this sense. When you're rendering, right? So when we're rendering a table, if there's no data, we should never render a heading that's just sitting there. And I say that more from the perspective of just good UI. Now, we could just say there's no data, that'd be fine, but we wouldn't pre-set up a table heading here. And the reason I saw several students do this was because they ended up going to ChatGPT, and instead of redoing the code that we had learned for doing the table render, they found what they felt was more efficient code. It was less code. The problem is that in order for it to work, they had to pre-set up the headings so that when they did the row using, again, what we're about to learn this week a little bit, is they had to have that in place. And so what I did is, in seeing this, I think I saw it like 5 or 6 times, and I thought, oh yeah, that makes sense. But here's what I want you to know, right, is that you need to have accounted for, if you were using that code, to not have a heading. That's my whole table heading, right? So this was my whole thing about this, is that you needed not to have that unless you have data. Now the question might be, how would you accomplish that, right? There's a couple of ways you could do it. You could actually just check for the same thing we did in the carbon footprint, and then maybe go off and go ahead and do some of that. Or the other thing you could do is go ahead and have it there, but have a class where it's not visible. That'd be the other way you could handle that. But one way or the other, you need to, because I will take a few points off. And more than anything, I think what this indicates, and one of the things that I see, is that when you're using something from ChatGPT, if you don't know how to meet the requirements for whatever it is that you're trying to accomplish, that's one of the risks of using code like that, because you don't always know how to modify it. So if you're going to do that, know how to do that. Or, like I said, go back and look at just rendering the heading and maybe then using your own code. I haven't done it for this case, so I can't tell you, but I can tell you it probably wouldn't be that challenging to figure out which method to use to get that done. But one way or the other, if you don't do it, you do lose a few points. It's not a ton, but it is a few in that case. Okay, so I'm going to leave this video here. I do still want you to go through this video and check it out and do what I ask in the reply. But I wanted to give this one just to talk about that particular thing that I saw and to clarify what I was talking about. So if you have any questions, right, if you're going to use the other method for rendering the tabular data, make sure that you don't have a heading before you have data. Okay, talk to you later.